It's the eve of a new year, and a group of 9 sports teachers from Delhi are packed and ready for a vacation. They're heading from the Kashmir Gate bus terminal to the remote mountains of GB. They are loud, celebratory, and like many urban travelers, they view mountain folklore as a collection of colorful stories rather than a set of warnings. But the trip almost stopped before it began. In the days leading up to their departure, the group leader, Rohan, was hit with a sudden illness. He was bedridden, gripped by a physical sensation that he was being prevented from leaving. He pushed through it, assuming it was a simple pre-travel fever. During a late-night stop in a thick mountain fog, the warnings became verbal. Rohan was alone in a roadside washroom when he felt the weight of a massive presence standing directly behind him. When he turned, the room was empty. Then a disembodied voice whispered through the silence, "Don't go there. It's dangerous." Rohan dismissed it as an illusion brought on by his earlier sickness. It was the first of several subtle environmental cues that the group chose to ignore as they moved deeper into the mountains. Back on the bus, the group's behavior became disruptive. They began dancing and playing loud music, eventually drawing a sharp rebuke from an older local woman sitting nearby. They sat down, but the interaction left them frustrated, further distancing them from the quiet, respectful conduct the local environment expects. At 1 a.m., the isolation became a problem. Diksha needed a bathroom break, but the bus was moving through a tight, pitch-black mountain pass. Despite the driver's warnings that it wasn't safe, the group insisted, forcing the bus to pull over on a shoulder overlooking a deep forest. While the men stayed by the road, the girls sought privacy by walking deep into the tree line. They disappeared into the dense, fog-covered woods, stepping away from the safety of the path and the vehicle's lights. The driver honked the horn repeatedly, anxious to get the bus moving again. In these forests, the boundary between the human path and the wild is thin, and stepping off it after midnight was the moment the group's vacation turned into a haunting. Minutes after returning to the bus, Diksha was attacked. She suddenly went rigid, staring at the older woman who had complained. As she tried to return to her seat, she collapsed and began struggling as if being choked by invisible hands. When her boyfriend pulled her to the front for air, the group saw the evidence: 4 distinct finger marks bruised into her neck. Diksha insisted she had been grabbed from behind. Terrified of cutting their short vacation even shorter, the group convinced themselves it was a strange physical reaction to the mountain altitude. They arrived in Jibi by 7 a.m. Their wooden houses were located on a steep hillside, away from the main road. Rohan left his friends with the luggage to hike up and check into the rooms, wanting to freshen up after the long journey. When Rohan returned 10 minutes later, he found his friends in a state of collapse. They told him they had just watched an exact double of him run down from the hotel, sprint to the edge of the road, and hurl itself over the edge into the ravine. Rohan realized the entity was now using his own face to terrorize his crying friends. It was no longer just about physical marks. The presence was now actively attempting to break the group's trust in what they were seeing. That night, the attacks intensified. By the fire, Diksha's voice changed into a harsh, unrecognizable tone. She suddenly ran for the edge of the property, screaming that she was going to jump into the canal. Rohan had to grab her and shake her violently to bring her back to her senses. The next night, Riddhi became the focus. She isolated herself from the group, staring into the sky with a look of intense fury. Rohan used his guru's locket to touch her neck, causing her to flinch and snap out of a deep trance she couldn't explain. Later that night, while the group huddled in a single room for safety, Riddhi broke. She physically overpowered Rohan, a man significantly larger than her, and bolted into the adjacent room, locking herself inside. Rohan peered through a tiny gap in the doorframe. Inside, he saw Riddhi standing upright, her feet off the floor. She was sliding vertically up the wall, her hair pulled upward as if being lifted by an invisible force toward the ceiling. Rohan immediately made a video call to his guru in Delhi. Through the phone, the guru began reciting a series of mantras. Seconds later, Riddhi slid down the wall and collapsed onto the floor, the invisible grip finally breaking. Riddhi was left unconscious and exhausted. The entities had progressed from bruises on a bus to physically lifting people off the ground, leaving the group's urban skepticism completely shattered. The group fled GB at sunrise, lying to their friends to ensure a quick escape. They went directly to a local Hanuman temple, seeking help from the resident priest. The priest stopped their story the moment they mentioned the midnight stop on the mountain pass. He explained that by walking into the woods, the girls had relieved themselves directly beneath a massive peepal tree, a site traditionally recognized as a dwelling place for spirits. This created a spiritual attachment. 2 spirits had followed the girls from the tree to the hotel. The priest noted that the group only survived because Rohan's spiritual locket acted as an energetic shield, preventing the entities from fully overpowering them. After tying protective threads to their wrists, the priest gave a final, terrifying warning. The spirits were waiting outside the temple gates. To get to their bus safely, the group had to walk forward and never look back, regardless of what they heard or felt behind them. The teachers returned to Delhi, but they left their disbelief behind in the valley. In the mountains, local taboos act as a map for an invisible world. Stepping off the path doesn't just annoy the residents, it signals to everything else that you are now prey.